Hi, this is the Wrestling Doctor from Pro Wrestling Extra. Sitting here with Mike Cruz, one of the top cruiserweights that's around now. Now, do you have a problem with saying you're a cruiserweight?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, thank you for being here with me.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem, man. You're one of the top guys. I wanted to be sure that I interviewed and got people to meet you. Mm-hmm. That's what we want to do.
Appreciate that.
All right. What year did you start in the wrestling business?
I started training at the FXE Professional Wrestling Academy in Orlando in 2006, February 2006. Had my first match in June of 2007 in York, Pennsylvania.
So you wrestled, or you trained for how many months?
Over a year before I had my first match.
Okay,
yeah.
That's important because a
About
lot of
a year and a half.
A lot of the young guys think, well, 3 months, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
Unfortunately, yeah. There's even more guys who think 1 month and they're ready, and that's we'll touch on that subject later.
Okay, so your first match was against who?
It was actually a four-way dance over at a small promotion that I worked for up in Pennsylvania. It was me, Simon Says, Afro Boy, who was no longer working, and Super Grover, who was working on and off. But yeah, it was a four-way dance, elimination. I won that match, and yeah, it was about almost a year and a half after I started training.
Wow. So how did you get into wrestling business itself?
Well, like most guys, it's always been a dream of mine since I grew up watching it. Growing up in New York, you know, it was one of the only things that can keep me at home, other than roaming the streets. So yeah, just grew up watching wrestling. Always been a dream of mine. I remember actually growing up, I didn't know there was a such thing as amateur wrestling. I had no idea what that was until I watched Saved by the Bell. I don't know if you're familiar with that show, but
my kids watch
it. AC Slater, the actor Mario Lopez, played AC Slater on the show, and he was the captain of the wrestling team at that high school, and that's how I was introduced to amateur wrestling. So I thought, all right, well, when I get into high school, I'm gonna wrestle on the wrestling team, and that'll be my segue into pro wrestling. And joined the high school wrestling team, and one of my best friends in high school, that's where I met him in there. We both joined the team together, and he actually quit the team when he was 16, so he can start training to be a pro wrestler at Gleason's Gym over in New York.
Right. Famous gym.
Yeah.
Famous gym.
A lot of guys have came out that school, Devon, Taz, you know, a lot of other guys, and those are the two most famous. But yeah, he started training there. I stuck with the amateur wrestling, hoping, you know, it would get me into college scholarship and whatnot, but due to some personal reasons, I ended up moving to Florida. And when I moved to Florida, the guy who had trained my best friend, who I consider to be a brother of mine, so if you ever hear me say my brother, that's what I'm referring to. The guy who trained my brother had already previously moved out here and was training at the FXE Pro Wrestling School. So my brother had came out here on spring break. He said he was going to go train. I went to pick him up after training one day. He reintroduced me to the guy who trained him, which was Ricky Vega. And one thing led to another, and it just snowballed. By the next week, I was training at FXE, and the guy who trained my brother actually trained me as well.
Cool. So you kind of fell into it, but you were aiming at it the whole time.
Yeah. It was. I just wasn't aiming for it at that particular point in my life, but I knew it was always something I wanted to do, and it just happened to fall in my lap, just right then and there. I figured I might as well jump on the opportunity.
Meant to be.
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Yeah.
All right. I was looking at your shirt. You got a Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. How about MMA?
Yeah. I dabbled in that a little bit. I actually stopped wrestling for a while and trained in jiu-jitsu and trained to fight, and went to a jiu-jitsu tournament and did that for a while, but due to financial reasons, I couldn't keep training, couldn't really afford to do it. It was kind of a rough patch in my life, so wanted to get things situated and just naturally came back to wrestling and just stuck with that.
Do you think that helped you a little bit in your wrestling training too? Did you have a little martial arts?
As far as the training goes, yeah. It always helps to be in shape regardless of what you did to train. You know, a lot of people, I don't want to say as regardless of what you say, because there's a big difference between being in shape and then ring shape, as
right.
you know. But being in shape does help. You know, it's not like I stopped wrestling and then just sat on the couch and ate chips, you know, all day. So it definitely felt good to stay active and do something, so that way I really didn't feel like I lost a step when I came back after a couple of months. But yeah,
great. I spent a lot of times watching Catch as Catch Can now, you know, in a lot of the older stuff that is still on YouTube, and tried to utilize that in some of my work with younger guys of saying, look how this looks. You know, you see the way the guy's in pain and it is a move. Now, can we utilize that? Can we utilize that move in the ring and do anything? And that facial expression on that guy showing pain, I want you to show that in the ring too, because there's a big deal with those fans sitting out there watching, and they look at you and you're showing pain. You know, they realize that hole hurt you.
Yep.
When you're just sitting there in a hole and you're thinking about whatever you're going to do next, you're taken away. Be conscious of so much that you have to add to every single match: facial expressions, body movements, hand, all this stuff.
You never, when I was training, and a lot of vets have told me, you know, throughout the years, you never want to have any wasted movement.
Absolutely not.
Everything has a purpose, and you want to make sure that you're fulfilling that purpose when doing that move or executing any kind of move in the ring.
That means you've gone to really good schools and you've had guys really help you with the knowledge.
Yeah, I've had the privilege. You know, I don't want to like name drop or anything, but I've had the privilege to work with a lot of guys who have been doing this a very long time. You know, and for whatever reason, they've always taken interest in me, and even if they haven't expressed that interest, I've never been shy to go and ask them for advice. You know, which I feel is one thing that's lacking, and it's weird because I haven't been doing this long. I started in 2006, but it's just maybe it's just because the way that I was trained, but I just see a really big difference in some of the guys that are coming up now in the locker rooms, just as far as locker room etiquette and the way you carry yourself in the locker room and in the ring, and just anything, just minor little details that, to me, I guess I was just trained to do that. So to me, it just seems like common sense. So when other people don't do it, it's like just mind-blowing to me, you know, like one of those things. But yeah, back to the topic, like I was just been lucky enough to work with guys that have been doing this for a long time and have made it, you know, to the level that a lot of people are aspiring to make it to. So yeah, I guess you can say I've been lucky enough or been blessed enough to...
At least you weren't intimidated enough to go ask. You know, I talked this over with one of the guys just this week. They came over to my house. A lot of guys visit me traveling through. And we were sitting down talking, and I asked him, I said, look, in the locker room, you're always talking to guys, and young guys are a little nervous about going up to you because you're a star, and they don't want to break in your conversation. So they kind of will just move away. I said, I would like the young guys to be able to talk to you. What would you say if you saw a young guy? He goes, well, if they were respectful, and they stood there and waited for us to finish what we were talking about. And he said, we would acknowledge them and ask. He said, we've been where that guy was. We know. So if he asks a question, I'm going to help him as much as I can. Don't be intimidated. Ask the question. And you got it right off the bat. You did that.
Yeah. That's, like I said, I think I was just more lucky than anything. You know, I think a lot of the people that I've been, like I said, lucky enough to come across were just all around good people. I've never been big leagued or anything like that. You know, a lot of the guys say that, you know, the vets that have been there, the higher ups that working their way back down, and now they're working these indie shows or whatever. You know, a lot of people say they're big league guys and don't really pay attention to the indie guys that are up and coming and stuff like that. But that hasn't happened to me yet. I'm not saying that it can any day, but I've been lucky enough that hasn't happened to me yet. And like I said, a lot of the people that I surround myself with have been places, and they do share a wealth of knowledge in the business, you know, not just ring-wise, but the business aspect of it as well.
That's true. You know, the guys that have been to the top and come back down through the indies, you know, I speak with some of them, and they always say, I mean, you know, those indie matches, you know, those, you just can't do that when you're on top. And they'll say, we do it every night. You can't do that particular type of match every single night. Your body won't let you do that, and the young guys don't understand that. So when they come to developmental, they're still thinking they're in indie mode, and they have to learn this whole new way of working, and it's a shock, you know. And I said, well, you know, that really should go out when the seminars are being held. That should be explained to the young guys, because it is different. Indie style is different.
Yeah,
you know.
I think it's more of those things. I mean, they're everyone wants to steal the show, which is a good mentality to have, I guess you can say, because everybody wants to shine and be taken. And when I first broke in, and even to this day, I still have a certain mentality where if I did quote unquote too much, what people might say, or your match was not necessarily too long, because I never really go past my times or anything like that, but maybe what some may consider too much. and it took away from the main event. The way I see it is, and some people will agree with me and some people might not. The way I see it is, everybody here, we're all in the indies, we're all trying to do the same thing, we're all trying to make it to that next level. If I limit myself because the guy on the main event can't do what I can do and can't make the crowd react to things that I can do in the ring, or that me and my partner can do in the ring. If me and my partner, maybe there's a certain guy that I just have a specific chemistry with, and I know that me and that guy can tear the house down any night of the week. Whenever me and him are in the ring together, it's magic. I'm not gonna limit myself and my abilities because the guy that's in the main event can't hang. That guy has been placed in the main event for a reason. It's his job to do his job in the main event, you know? And I think maybe it's just the competitive nature of me, because I'm a very competitive person, and I always like leaving a show knowing that I left it all in the ring, and I did whatever I could to have the match of the night, to have the best match of the night, and so that the fans do remember who Mike Cruz is when they leave the building. I don't ever want fans to watch a Mike Cruz match and say, well, I've seen him do better, you know, he took it easy on this show. I don't ever want them to see that, you know?
Right. Well, you know, I agree with you. We have so many promotions that are geared toward, they're what I call C-class promotions.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically started because the promoter wants to be a star and he makes himself a champion.
And you can't get booked anywhere else and whatnot, believe me.
Right, I hate
well
that
aware,
stuff.
I'm well aware.
It drives me crazy. But in talking about doing something, you know, the difference in the indies and stepping up to the next level, and there actually is more than just indies and top.
Yeah.
There's levels of better promotions all the way up to the top. Is some of the top guys, you know, get up there, there's agents.
Yeah.
So they sit down with you and go over your match.
And they direct you.
And they direct you, and they'll go to the other guys. So I watched a match not too long ago where they had the exact same finish, 2 matches back to back, and I'm going.
A show that I worked last week. As a matter of fact, there was 3 matches back to back that had pretty much the exact.
It's the first question. I said, "Who's in the back? Is there nobody in the back going over this stuff? They have no agent, no booker, no nothing in the back." And that's the difference in a C show, a B show, or A show. You know what they have here. Frank Howell puts on an A show because he uses quality talent, and they try to pay attention in the back. You know, and that makes a huge difference in the show. And no matter how much I preach this stuff, everybody just says you're just an old man. But I'm an old man that remembers.
With age comes wisdom, and that's a lot of things that people forget. You know.
All right, answer this question: where do you want to be in 5 years?
It's hard to say, you know. My personal goal, obviously, everybody wants to work with the top 2. You know, everybody says WWE, TNA, and it would be great to work there. 1, for the recognition. 2, obviously, for financial reasons. Financially, my goal is not to be a star for financial reasons. My goal is not to be a success in pro wrestling for financial reasons. It's more of a personal goal. It's something that I genuinely enjoy doing. Like I said, I grew up wrestling. I wrestled throughout high school and just wrestling here. This is something that I genuinely enjoy. The second I feel that I'm bad at it, I'm gonna stop, because I don't want to be the guy that looks at my matches 10 years from now, and then I know I'm not performing to the same capabilities that I can 5 years, because I feel like I'm lying to myself that I'm still living in the past, and then I would also feel like I'm cheating the fans because they're not getting.
It's a hard thing to do.
It is. It is a very hard thing to do. I don't think I would have that much of a problem doing it, though, to be honest. Because it's a personal thing. It's just a personal thing. This is something that I enjoy doing. If you don't love doing this, then 1, you're not going to make it far, and 2, you're in it for the wrong reasons. You have to genuinely love what you do, and that goes for any business, not just wrestling.
Right. Absolutely.
That goes for anything, because a lot of people forget that wrestling is a business.
It is a business, just like any other business.
It's an entertainment business, but it's a business. A lot of people don't understand, you know, outside of the business, and people in the business still forget that this is also a profession. This is something that you have to go to school for. This is something that you train for. This is something that you donate, not donate. You put in a lot of time and effort, and not only time and effort, but wear and tear on your body. This is something that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So if you don't love it and you're just doing it, you know, excuse my language, but for shits and giggles, and then you know you're wasting your time, because one, you're not going to do anything to better yourself as a pro wrestler, and two, it's going to take that toll on your body, and you're going to be stuck with that for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Trust me, I know. I'm going on my second back operation I know, but you have to learn. It's a constant learning process.
Exactly.
The business evolves, you have to evolve and stay with it, and you have to evolve. As your body gets older, you've got to evolve what you do in that ring too.
Yeah, and that's what
you're doing at your age now. It ggets a little harder when you're 38.
Yeah, what I was saying earlier when I said we will touch on it later is like the difference in locker rooms. Like and like I said, maybe it was just the way I was trained. So when I see certain things with the kids that are coming up now, I don't even like saying kids because I'm still a kid, but you know what I mean. The younger guys that are coming in now, the newer bunch on the indie scene, it's just hard because like you said, you know, a lot of them think that they train 1 month or 2 months at Joe Schmo's school around the corner, that they're a pro wrestler, and I mean, sometimes it is their fault, sometimes it's the guy that just took advantage of them and wanted to take their money and say, hey, you know, I wrestled a match, and watch this one match that I wrestled, I can train you to be a pro wrestler. Yeah. And guys that have been growing up loving this, that want to do it, they don't really know any better, so they feed this guy all their money and who training them to be a pro wrestler, and then they leave a month or 2 months later and they just spent $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on wrestling school, and they go on the indie scene and they don't know any better. And this is an industry that's very cutthroat, you know. And I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of good people in this business, and I look forward to meeting a lot more since I'm so young in it. So I hope that I can meet a lot more, but if I don't, I'll be perfectly happy with the few that I have met. But it's a very cutthroat industry, so if you rub the wrong person the wrong way, it'll affect you for a while, and it's very you know, he said, she said, and gossip, and a lot, and I try to stay clear of it, you know, because it's not how I operate. I come in, I wrestle, and I do my job, and you know, if I happen to meet some good people along the way, then so be it, and that's it, you know. But I'm not really one to dabble in all that stuff. That's not how I operate.
I like to tell some of the younger guys, because they don't get this. When I was trained in 1981, I didn't pay a dime, because they didn't charge you to learn. They picked you to come in. So it wasn't.
I wish it was like that.
It was more kayfabe back then. They picked the guys that came in that they trained. So when it turned into a business, like where guys started charging, I think that's when we started breaking down a little bit. But look, thanks for coming here and sitting down with me. It's been a pleasure, and we'll have to do this again. I've talked to Simon and Frankie. I want to come down there one day and do a round robin where we sit at a table, everybody, and we sit down and talk.
That'd be awesome.
Just like we're talking, and everybody talk how they think the business is, and we can all tell road stories and have a good time. I think that'd be a great thing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. All right, this is the Wrestling Doctor from Pro Wrestling Extra. Thanks.